unique experience.
Yes. We're gonna get started in a sec, guys. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties.
Linux, are you new to VRchat?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, it's nice. Like, yeah, I don't feel like I'm really missing out, other than just work and school. So I saw the news article about
except for work.
the COVID-19 thing. Thought it would be a good time to try it.
I don't know if the mic is picking up my cat yelling through the door. Wants to not hearing the conversation.
No.
Fair point.
I do think when
To that end, when I make noise, he seems to
yell.
Great. All right, guys. Welcome. We're gonna get started in a second. We're just waiting for Eve, the co-host, to get in here. She's for some reason she can't hear me or join me or something like that, so she's gonna join the world, and then hopefully we'll figure out what the issue is there. But yeah, welcome. What we're gonna do, we're gonna move to a Friends Plus instance so that anybody who's connected to you guys can join, but we'll have a little bit more of a private space. And today, so a couple weeks ago, just for context, we had Deadly come on, and they talked about basically at that time we were actually calling it, I think we called it the Wuhan. It was actually, no, how long ago was that, Deadly? Was that like a month and a half or something, or in February
It was
maybe?
pretty much exactly a month.
A month, okay. So it was a month ago, and at that point, I think we were still calling it the Wuhan. We called it the Wuhan coronavirus, which I know now is like a really bad. Like now, certain people are calling it that on purpose to kind of stoke racism and stuff. But at that point, it hadn't really spread as much, and so it was kind of that's what we were calling it at the time. And Deadly talked about the kind of spread and the projected increase in number of people who would get it. And even when he was talking about that, it was really hard to imagine where we are today. And so the purpose of this episode is kind of like a follow-up for people to share their experiences of what it's been like, and for us to kind of provide support for each other and see how people are coping with it, and really just talk about what's happening. Because I think that a lot of people Jorena, you have to mute your mic, just to let you know, because you have an echo right now. But a lot of people are there's a lot going on, and I think that by talking about it and processing it a little bit and hearing other people's experience, we have people from all over the world together right now, and so hearing how people are dealing with it and coping with it, I think will be a really positive experience. So so let's see, we still don't have Eve, but we are going to go to a Friends Plus instance. And two other announcements. One is that anything that we say as part of the show is not representing what VRchat thinks. Two is anything you hear or people say should be taken with a grain of salt. It's not medical advice. You should follow whatever your physician says, or check with other people. Don't take anything here as necessarily true. You really want to make sure that you're following kind of medical advice and the news and the CDC or whatever is in your country guiding you guys. And three is we have a Discord. If you go to endgamevr.com, you can join our Discord community, and we'll kind of continue the conversation after this show if people want. So yeah, okay, so I'm gonna put down, or Ghoster's gonna put down a portal, and we'll head into that portal, and we will meet you on the other side. Yeah. There you go.
Spaghetti. Inhale.
Well, that was
I
painless.
cannot understand you.
Hold on, I'm on the phone. What? Yeah, I'm talking to her right now on the phone. So give me 1 sec.
Does anyone know how to turn off name tags?
On the bottom left.
Okay, thank you. Better.
And the topic will be the
Wow.
least of our concerns.
You've obviously worked in tech support before.
Cthulhu.
Having a single
Well,
It-
usually
it
having a
can
single
be.
enemy would
sacrifice
somehow be
some
nicer
virgins
though
or something, you know.
than a disease.
I think it depends where you live.
God damn it. Why are my legs through that? Okay. God damn it, you're so to stand.
Probably gonna regret not doing the seated mode. Well, let's give the IK a hard problem to solve. There, how messed up does that look?
Yeah, you look like a
Pretty
crab.
standard considering you don't have a mental body. You're pretty much
Yeah,
squatting on the
crab-
floor with your
Yeah, it's
knees
pretty
going into
standard.
your chest.
It's pretty messed up. Aren't the trackers still like what? Is it 40 or 80 bucks each or something?
100.
100.
100.
Yikes.
Graham.
Click on my avatar with the laser. Okay, what comes up? Yep, we're trying to fix it. Click.
Shit, no.
Yeah.
What's an anime? Oh.
Alright.
Is it related to an hentai?
Oh boy.
You trying to freak me out, Tronic?
I'm trying to get on top of the pole.
Cough,
Turn
cough.
around and you're creepy.
Oh, you
guy.
got that.
Wait, I thought you could in certain
That's where my CPU cycles went.
preferences.
I saw the air quotes. That was perfect.
I read the
And
terms
those
of
allowed in,
service, and
private.
You are correct.
Worlds.
Yeah, just do it in front of the devs. It's fine.
All right, guys. So, Ghoster, so we're still troubleshooting for a sec. For some reason, Eve has an ear with an X on it on her avatar, and she's muted for me, but not. One of us has muted the other, but both of us have voice on. Oh, now I hear you.
Can you hear me now?
too.
Yes. All right. Awesome. What the hell? That was really weird.
Sweet.
Okay,
Oh, wait,
we're good.
You sure
We're
it's
set.
not the phone?
Yeah,
no,
where's
I
that?
don't
Where's
hear
that?
you now.
Oh my god.
Mm-mm.
I still hear.
I don't know.
I hear her, and she hears.
Conference call from hell.
Yeah, seriously.
Eve, can you hear me?
Well, guys, this has never happened to us before.
Get her to go into her safety settings
Yeah.
and click it on normal.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
Eve,
that's what's
go to
going
your
on.
safety settings. So click the menu button and then go to settings,
Okay, hold on. Yeah, safety.
and then click on safety, and then click none. Shield level none.
Or none, yeah.
Okay,
Oh
hold on.
gosh.
In the upper part, it says shield.
Hopefully no one sugar bums us.
Okay.
I mean,
Now,
I
click the
have
menu
a
button again to
scene
exit.
60, it's running fine.
You have an ear with an X on it.
Yeah, I still have the ear with the X, and she has a mouth with an X over it. Can everybody hear Eve right now?
Hello,
Yes.
testing
Yes.
1, 2,
Yes.
3.
Of course.
Okay.
Now I don't hear anyone. Now I don't hear
She
anyone.
doesn't hear anyone now.
Okay, maybe I should just bow out because I feel.
All right. Try to quit
Badly.
VRchat and restart. Okay, guys, we're gonna try one more thing, and then we're gonna get started. If this doesn't work,
I'm so
we're
sorry
both, we're
that I'm
both gonna
causing
quit
this.
VRchat and restart
Just
it.
make
so
a new
we'll be.
account.
Yeah, I mean, I'm close to doing that.
Yeah, quit
The
and
what?
restart
Okay.
it.
Yeah, we're gonna leave you with Ghoster. We'll be back in 3 minutes. All right, Eve, quit
So
quit
Ghost is telling
VRchat.
some great jokes. We're okay.
Okay.
I don't trust
If-
that guy.
Survive.
I don't trust him. Huh?
OK，
他是不是被邀请来 VRchat 第一次用？不太懂。
没有啊，发生一些问题啊，
对啊，他不是说听不到声音吗？
可能东西有问题。
对啊，所以我以为他是第一次玩。Where? Oh.
Philippines.
Spaghetti. 说啊，你在台湾。
Well, I'm in the UK. We've I think, just gone into lockdown, or in the process of kind of going in to lockdown. Schools have just closed.
Finally?
For us.
It took lockdown to close schools?
Our schools were closed a long time ago, like at least 2 weeks ago.
It took us a while to really catch on. That was a problem. That there was a problem.
That's it, 2 weeks.
It's a lot less
All
than
right.
18 months.
So we're gonna get started, guys, and Eve is gonna try to join if she can. So yeah, sorry about that. We've literally never had this happen before. So so we need someone to introduce the show. Does anyone want to? So you basically say, "Welcome to Endgame." Today we're talking about how to cope with the coronavirus. Does anyone want to? Does anyone want to try to introduce the show when we start the live stream?
I'll do it.
Awesome. All right, little Poe.
Yeah.
So just stand right here. Leon, if you could get back over here a little bit. Yeah, you'll start there, and Ghoster will let you know when ready.
Fabulous.
I'll
Oh, how
just get
exciting.
the normal tag up.
The hacks.
Camera.
You know, I always watched Endgame, but it was always too late for me to actually come, so it's such a joy to come again.
Oh
Yay.
yes, you were the one who made
Yeah.
that one video.
Oh.
Yep, I remember that.
I did make a video a while ago.
So, if there were virtual chairs in here, could I avoid looking like a crab?
Unfortunately, no, we don't put chairs.
Oh, you can click the menu button.
The
And
cat
then
is already
seat
taken.
standing play.
mode,
If you
yeah.
toggle that, you'll be
okay.
standing while you're seated in real life. There you go.
Oh, that's weird. All right.
All right. Well,
Give
let's
this
go
a
ahead and
shot.
get started then.
Cool. Hello everyone, welcome to Endgame. Today we're going to be talking about how we're all coping with the coronavirus. Welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So right now it's just me hosting this. Hopefully Eve will be in. We had some technical difficulties, and Ghoster is also going to be here too, which is great. And yeah, welcome everyone. So this is Endgame, where we talk about different topics and things like that, kind of serious topics or intellectual discussions about the future and things like that. And so about a month ago, we had our show on the coronavirus, and we had Deadly come in, who's a biologist, and talk about their predictions about how things might spread and things like that. And today we're talking about what's going on with everybody and how they're experiencing things. Obviously, it's kind of continued to advance, and it's affecting pretty much everyone's lives all around the world. And we want to hear about your experiences and kind of talk about things like, and people, there's physical things like how people are kind of isolating themselves or trying to protect themselves. There's the psychological stuff of the stress, and also, trying to navigate the situation. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we just want to kind of talk about it and process it, because sometimes I think we all know that we're living through a really intense thing right now that'll probably be in the history books and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of a strange feeling to have. But I think processing it as it's going along and kind of checking in about how we're all doing is a really important kind of process to go through, to figure out, are we alone in feeling all this stress? How is VR helping us? All those kinds of things. So for the group discussion, a couple things. One, there's a couple ways we really want everybody to participate. It's not just us talking, but we really want everybody talking about their experiences. So there's two things that you can do. One is you can just raise your hand and we'll kind of call on you, or you can also use the exclamation point emoji if you have like a quick comment or maybe a response to someone else. But if you really want to, kind of talk about your experience, what you do is you just get in the circle right here, and you can line up behind the person who's in the circle and kind of start talking about your experience. So, but yeah, so first of all, I just want to get an idea of where people are in the world. So I guess to do this, can we have, if you're in the United States, can you go kind of somewhere between these two pillars, like on this line? If you're in the United States, if you're in Europe, come over here. If you're in Asia, over here. I'm just kind of curious what the distribution. So United States, Europe, Asia.
Anywhere else?
Canada.
Okay, anywhere, yeah. Where else are people from? Is anyone from
Canada?
Canada? Sorry, North America. North America. Yeah. Canada doesn't count.
What about Hawaii?
No. Hawaii. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, now you guys can evenly distribute. Also, you guys can get in close if you want. Get in, let's make a intimate circle. I think I might just stand off the stage.
Distancing.
We need 6 feet.
Social distancing.
Here goes. So let's come off.
Okay.
Let's come off the stage too. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Because this is more a little bit different of a show and everything. So yeah, I guess people. I think it'd be interesting to hear about the experiences. So I know the United States / Canada, North America. Well, it's different actually. In the United States right now, I think people are really leaving it up to each state in terms of how to handle it. I'm in Tennessee, and things are not really being taken too seriously, it seems. But maybe we can start. Leon, I know that you are in Taiwan. So do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on with you? And actually, we can just stay, when people talk, you can actually just stay in the circle since we're a little bit closer together. We don't need to use the center. So you can just kind of step forward a little bit like you have. And yeah, what's been going on in Taiwan right now?
So basically, Taiwan now just has 113 been infected, and I think it's because there's some professional person from America. They're in January, they predict that because of Taiwan is next to China, so it's gonna be very serious in Taiwan. But today we just have 100 been infected, so I think we have a nice strategy in Taiwan.
Interesting. And what are they doing to kind of avoid people being affected?
We think our government have a fast reaction about this coronavirus, because we already closed some flights since January with China, so we prohibit them to come into Taiwan. And also, I think the main point is because back to 2000, I think it's 2003. We have a virus called SARS. Do you guys know that virus?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have at that time is the situation is very bad. It's even worse than right now in Taiwan. So we have an experience and we learn a lot from that experience. So this time we have more strategy and more people that are knows how to defend this kind of situation. So I think that is much more different from like Europe or America. So yeah.
Interesting. So you guys had something kind of bad happen before, so you were prepared to take this very seriously. Does anyone else, I guess people in Europe, like, was it taken seriously from the beginning, or like how has the reaction been generally there? Anyone wanna?
Actually, I was in Spain last week because I was a student studying Spanish in Spain. But I was very surprised that the people in Spain they don't pay attention to this situation. You know, like from the beginning, maybe Asian people, I think we already start even if it's a flu, we already start to wear the mask. I mean, every even almost everyone we wear the mask, but like at least in Spain, because I'm Asian, so sometimes we go to like the capital, Madrid, and when we wear a mask, we're being discriminated because I think they think only the person, the people that gets they wear a mask. So I think they don't have a right attitude about this situation. So I mean, I think that's the main reason why they're so the situation is very bad in Spain.
So okay, so interesting. Well, thank you for sharing. That's I think it's very interesting that in Taiwan, like more people wearing masks.
Yeah.
I just have a question for the audience. Like you can use the emoji response in your menu to respond to this. But how many people here are wearing masks when they go outside?
What if you don't go outside?
Like if you're going out to outside of your apartment or to somewhere in public, like are you wearing some kind of mask or anything like that?
Yeah. So what if you don't go outside?
Oh, yeah, I guess thumbs down. Yeah, I guess how many people... So, okay, so most people are not wearing masks. I see Yorena does and things like that. And how many people are basically not going outside? If you thumbs up, if you're not leaving your apartment, mostly.
You mean if your lifestyle is already called quarantine?
Yeah, yeah. I guess how many? Yeah, and that's another question. Is like how many people here are kind of in the mode? So thumbs up or thumbs down if you're in the mode of like I don't really like to leave my apartment anyway, so this isn't that bad. How many people are in that category? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Kind of like in.
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Interesting. So we have a. Yeah, hold on, I heard a comment. Did someone want to repeat it? Sorry, I couldn't quite hear.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I don't have VR, so I can just talk in like emoji. But I'm right, like I'm on your left side. I'm the hot dog.
Okay, it's very soft to hear you. Is that can other people hear her? Or
I hear them now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
oh, interesting. Well, see all sorts of issues with. Oh, master volume. Okay, I've turned up my master volume. Watch the thing with Eve the whole time was just that all my voices were off or something. But interesting. So most people are kind of okay with not going out. It seems. What is the worst thing about this for people? Like, what is there anything bothering people kind of a lot about this? For me personally, it's my parents. I'm really worried about. They're older, and so I think I'm really stressed about them and stuff like that. But also, Leon, you can get if you want to go into the circle as well. Awesome. You guys don't necessarily need to come up. You can just share. You can come towards the front a little bit to share. But yeah, Nauticus. Ryan, and then Nauticus. Sure.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. I'm in Canada right now, and I'm in one of the prairie provinces, Manitoba, where there's about 1,000 cases in Canada total, over 1,000 now. But in Manitoba, my province where I live, there's only 17 confirmed cases of COVID-19. I should explain that 15 years ago, I first began preparing for a potential pandemic. At the time, it was H5N1 bird flu. This was in 2005, 2006, and that's when I started to prepare. I bought masks, I bought like surgical gloves, I bought canned food, I bought rice. Like 15 years ago, I prepared, and then what was really scary about H5N1 bird flu was that it had a 60% death rate. But the good news is that it was really, really bad at human-to-human transmission, so it burned out.
Yeah.
So I just basically kept all my stuff, and January 24th, when there were only about 1,000 cases in China, I made a $50 bet with my best friend that we were going to have a pandemic. He thought I was completely wrong. Unfortunately, we all know what happened.
Yeah.
So in the back of my mind for the last 15 years, I've always known this was a possibility. But one of the things, and I had like, I went shopping like crazy in February to basically build up my preparations for this.
Yeah.
I have discovered that you can be as physically and logistically prepared as you can be for this, but if you're not emotionally and mentally prepared for this, you're still gonna struggle.
Interesting.
And I am somebody that has a history of mental health issues. I have lifelong clinical depression that I am under treatment for. And I am really struggling with anxiety and depression right now, and I really needed to be here today because I haven't left the apartment since Monday when I did the last of my grocery shopping.
Yeah.
And this to me is being in a group. To my brain, in a VR headset, it feels like I'm part of a crowd. And I am missing this so much because I live by myself in my apartment, and
yeah.
I am also really worried for my parents who are in their 80s. And there are times when I am just not doing very well right now.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing. I mean, how many people are experiencing anxiety about this situation? There's a thumbs up or thumbs down if you're feeling anxiety about the situation.
Thumbs up
I'm just
for
curious
anxiety.
Yeah, anxiety. Maybe not sure. Okay. So it seems like a slight majority of people are feeling anxiety. Also, thank you for sharing, Ryan. And yeah, I mean, I'm definitely feeling anxiety about my parents as well. I think that's a big. How many people are concerned about their parents in this epidemic too? Thumbs up or thumbs down if you're concerned. Maybe your parents are younger or don't have too many health conditions or something. But okay, interesting. Yeah, because we're younger, and you see these articles, at least in the United States, about people are going on spring break and they're like, "Oh, I'm fine," and stuff like that. And it's just like, what's happening is that people can actually come home and end up killing their family, basically, if they are out. So it's a little bit scary.
Actually, not all of us are younger. I'm actually 56.
Yeah.
And I have several underlying health conditions that would make me probably have a severe reaction if I were infected with this coronavirus. So I am very concerned about possibly catching this, which is one of the reasons why I started working from home as of Monday.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think it's good to take precautions of social distancing and stuff. Void, did you have a quick comment on that before we go to Deadly?
Yeah, basically, I have a similar issue where, like, I'm kind of afraid if, like, I catch it because I have a heart disease that can make me more susceptible to worse symptoms.
Yeah, so pre-existing conditions are kind of scary for people. And there's some unknown, too. Like, we don't know exactly what the pre-existing conditions are, too. So I think that there's some fear for ourselves as well, not just our parents, which I think is important to acknowledge. Deadly, do you want to come up?
Yeah, I think my worst experience so far with the coronavirus outbreak is I mean, I know I myself am not part of any risk group, I'm well protected. I'm actually working with the virus every day. I'm currently
Oh wow.
I've been drafted for extra duty in a biolab to basically run the tests and to analyze the tests.
Wow. Well, thank you for. I mean, you're one of the people putting yourself at risk for, all of us basically. So, yeah.
That is not the bad thing, and I'm also not concerned too much about my family because I know over here in Germany the lethality rate of the coronavirus is somewhere between 0.2 and 0.3%. So even if you're part of a risk group, due to the fact that we have very good healthcare for everyone, the chance to actually die from this is relatively small. It's actually one of the smallest in the world, but if I talk to friends from outside Germany, they tend to ask me, what am I supposed to do? How can I protect myself? What can I do to basically stay alive? What if I get it? What can I do then? And I think the thing that's the worst for me is that I have to tell them, to be fair, you can wear a particle filter mask, but those things are sold out anyway.
Yeah.
So there's not too much you can do. Besides, wash your hands, try to not touch your face.
Yeah.
All that normal stuff, but seeing people panic over this is probably the worst thing for me.
Interesting. Well, two things. One, it seems like at least the CDC in the United States has said like it could be 2 to 4% death mortality, but we don't know how many people actually have. The other key thing that people don't necessarily think about is that we don't know how many people actually have the disease. We only have the positive test, but there's probably lots and lots of people out there in addition who don't have any symptoms, who have it, that kind of we're learning about. So it is probably a lot lower. And the other thing is that I think that what we're doing right now, talking about it, trying to at least cope with the stress, getting some, sleep, exercise, while, doing exercise while you're alone in your home. All of those things are also things that we can do to prepare, because people who have, maybe they're not exercising or not kind of preparing, that can also weaken the immune system. So I think that's also another really important thing. But yeah, seeing everybody freaking out is really hard. And another question I had a poll for everybody is, how many people here kind of predicted that this was going to be pretty bad before the people around them, and they thought that people around them were kind of saying that they're paranoid and things like that? Click thumbs up if that's the case, or thumbs down if you're kind of not. That's interesting.
Just the response
Yeah.
to all this. Like, what how much is the government going to do to mitigate all this, and like, are they just gonna sort of let it happen, etc.? And like, each person is in a different situation too, where like, where they can't like take off time from work and other things like that.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a big question.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty. I think uncertainty is one of the biggest things, and actually there's a construct called a tolerance of uncertainty, and how well people are able to cope and tolerate uncertainty, and that actually is correlated with anxiety, which kind of makes sense. If there's uncertainty, how do we cope with it, how do we process it, and things like that is a really big part of it. But yeah, thank you, Deadly, and thanks for coming on before too to do the show, on the predictions and stuff.
I mean, I originally predicted that if we just let it spread, it would be over by the mid of April. We obviously can't just let it spread because there would still be a shit ton of casualties, so
yeah.
What
We'll
we're
have to
basically
see.
doing right now is we're trying to limit the spread, so we're not completely overloading the ICUs in the hospitals, because those are basically the only thing. Statistically seen, about 5% of the corona cases are so heavy that they need an ICU and artificial breathing, but 5% of let's say 20,000 people, 22,000 in the US at the moment, is still a lot, and that needs a lot of personnel, a lot of doctors, and a lot of beds to take care of that, and that's simply busting our capacities at some point.
Yeah, interesting. Well, thank you for sharing. Welcome, Andy. Just to let you know, you can get into the circle if you want, and then or line up if you have something to add. This is like a line of people sharing, and yeah, so. You can also, if you have something really quick to add, you can just kind of chime in as well. So Nauticus.
Yeah, so I'm living in Illinois. Just yesterday, they issued a stay-in-place order. So that's fine. I mean, we can still go out for emergency supplies, things like that. So, me and my immediate family, we're fine. My biggest concerns are with my parents right now. They're in their 70s, and unfortunately, they are on a cruise to nowhere at the moment. So they went on vacation right about New Year's, and they spent the first half of the vacation in New Zealand, vacationing out there, and then their plan to get back was to take a cruise through French Polynesia. And so that's what they did. They hopped on a boat through Holland America in February, and they've been at sea for I think it's somewhere between 20 and 30 days.
Wow.
And they've not been able to go to any ports. Each port has been turning cruise ships away, so they've not been able to go to port in all of the destinations they plan to go to, French Polynesia. And most recently, their plan was that they would get off in Hawaii to go into Hilo, and they were turned away there. And then so they went to Honolulu. The ship eventually was allowed to port. This was just yesterday, to go into port in Honolulu. But unfortunately, the Department of Transportation of Hawaii, the governor, Tulsi Gabbard, they all said that they can only resupply and refuel, and then sent them on their way. So. So at that time, I was feeling a lot of anger, still am. Had my sister and other family members call our state senators, representatives to try to get some federal aid to allow them. There were 500 U.S. citizens on the boat. It's perfectly healthy, no coronavirus on the ship, but Hawaii made the decision to turn away U.S. citizens. They did allow Hawaii citizens to disembark, but not any of the other U.S. citizens on board. So right now they are back at sea. I think they leave, they have to be out of port today, and they will be back at sea, and it's unknown if they'll be able to port anywhere else. Their next destination, their next try is for San Diego, and hopefully San Diego will allow the ship to come to port and then allow the passengers to disembark. So it's a very frustrating situation. I think there's a lot of negativity about people on cruise ships based on what happened with the Diamond Princess. People are saying, oh, why would anyone get on a cruise ship right now?
Yeah.
But my folks were at a time where it was unknown if it was really going to turn a corner and get really bad. So just, it's frustrating. It's, just scary for them, I'm sure. They just want to get off the boat, and they're stuck kind of out at sea. But
wow, well, that's really scary. I mean, at least they have, at least they're able to get supplies and things. And does anyone on the boat have coronavirus, or
no? It's no one's ill on the boat. There's no coronavirus, which is the maddening part about the fact that they wouldn't let the passengers disembark. There was passengers from Australia on the boat. They want to go home, and so all of these people are kind of held hostage at the moment, just having to take off.
Well, it's interesting though, because they started the cruise so much earlier than the spread. It's possible that they're actually safer because they're actually being isolated right now and are not actually coming in contact with people who have coronavirus, versus if they disembarked somewhere and then traveled home, they could actually be more exposed than being able to stay on the boat in this isolated. I mean, they're kind of their own little I don't know what the biological term would be, but they're kind of isolated from everybody, it seems.
There is a silver lining there, but I guess, there comes a point where they can't be on the boat forever.
That's true.
It keeps ramping up. So, they wanted to be off a couple weeks ago.
Worse,
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, they would have been a lot safer getting home then than whenever they're going to get to port now. And so it's a scary situation because they just want to get home, and the fact that it keeps getting delayed, there's no guarantee that it's going to be gone once they get back to port. So it's just frustrating.
Wow. Well, that sounds really frustrating, and you guys, it sounds like you guys are doing a lot to write senators, and I think keeping that up, and maybe even trying to get other people to contact, or maybe even also getting in contact maybe with other people. If you guys all came together, the family members of everybody on the cruise, perhaps you could also get more attention. But that sounds really stressful.
Yeah. So we'll work through it, but hopefully we'll get them home soon.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah. Thinix?
Thinix. So I don't know. It's been weird. I started working from home a while ago now. I think it was last week Thursday. And that was at the point where like the governor hadn't shut down the state. And I was the one like, yeah, I don't know if we should go out to that social gathering. Like, maybe that's not a great idea. And it's just been an increasing crush of feeling like I'm trying to still do my job from home while the pandemic rages around the world, and all I can do is sit tight. And
Yeah.
it's bizarre. And you mentioned like feeling like you're present in something that'll end up in history books, and yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. What's bizarre? What's the most bizarre about it?
I guess like I'll look out the window and people will be walking their dog, and like families are like all together still, and it's like cool, but I can't cross the streams at this point. Like that wouldn't be wise. So it's just me and my cat. Like, so it's weird to have things that look like they're normal, but then like if I go and like take the recycling out or something, like normally I probably wouldn't run into anyone, but now it's like more of a concern in my mind. And if I do see someone, we definitely do not approach. Like, you're not gonna say like, oh hey, how was your week? Like, no, you're gonna stay like 10 feet away. And so it's even when I did have to go to the grocery store to pick up more food, it was like even like calling over the cashier, because like of course the self-checkout machine doesn't work correctly necessarily. It's like we're awfully close, like is this safe? I don't so it's a kind of codification of being a germaphobe, I guess. Like now it's official advice.
Yeah, well, that's so two things. One, I can totally relate to when someone comes up, because when I was taking it more seriously, but the people around me weren't, I was at my lab. I went to my lab on campus, and then it was pretty empty. Most people were working from home, and then there's this one guy who had to be there, and he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, psych, like, what's up?" And he started coming up to me. He's like, "How are you doing with all this?" And I was just like, "Sorry, I gotta go," and like ran into my lab and closed the door. And I felt really bad because he wasn't taking it seriously, but I am. So I mean, he probably is more now, and he had to be there. But yeah, I totally feel that discomfort when someone gets close. The other interesting thing that I think we talked a little bit about on the show, but we talk about, like, first of all, mental health disorders, right? So like mental health disorders, we've all evolved over thousands of years. And so what we call mental health disorders often are actually adaptive things that we experience that actually kept our ancestors alive. And so anxiety, for example, stopped us from becoming someone else's lunch. I mean, the two main goals a long time ago were finding your lunch and not becoming someone else's lunch, basically. And so those kinds of things are playing out now. So people who have like OCD related contamination fears, or like a germaphobe, or, constantly washing their hands, all this kind of stuff, all of a sudden those behaviors become, like you said, what's recommended to all of us. And all of a sudden having a little bit of social anxiety or anxiety about being with other people might be protective. So I think it's kind of interesting how our definitions of what's like not maladaptive or a kind of pathology can actually be very protective in these kinds of times. And I hope that can be validating for some people that, those fears come from a source of survival, essentially. And now we're seeing that people who have that naturally built in are potentially able to get through the epidemic more effectively.
I've never heard anyone explain it that way before. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we think about psychopathology or mental health disorders as always like disorder and wrong, but that's just because it's not the norm in our current society. But when things shift and all of a sudden we have to survive, or there's a pandemic, that changes. Yeah, did you have...
That's just a theory.
Well, the evolution part is not too much a theory, but yeah. I mean, it's a one perspective on it, for sure. Yeah. But cool. Thanks, Phoenix. A4T.
Remember to write slowly because
it looks like chicken. Yeah, we can't see what you're writing.
Networked IK doesn't.
I can't see anything.
Writing, it just scribbles over us. Make it really big and really slow.
I can't see anything. Yeah, A4, if you can, in Endgame, if you go to endgamevr.com, join our Discord. Oh, you're in the Discord. Yeah, send Ghoster a message, and Ghoster can read it out loud, if that's okay with you.
Or we can just put it in public.
Yeah, that's true. We can read it. So, okay, so while that's happening, so we'll do Screaming Turtle, and then once we have the message from A4, we'll be able to read that out loud. So, yeah, Screaming.
Yeah, so I think I just kind of resonating with pretty much everybody here. I'm not terribly worried about myself catching the virus as far as like I'm in self-isolation right now. We have 138 cases here in the Twin Cities area in Minnesota. So we've definitely had our fair share of folks spreading it around. But just being in isolation, I think it's broken into my routine a lot, and I've had to sort of reset a routine in order to keep myself feeling healthy, especially in the psychological case of things. I had a very set schedule that I would work with every day, where I had, my work time, I had my time to exercise, and my, exercise time was somewhat of a social time as well. So, when you remove all those foundational blocks you put in there for yourself, especially as somebody who's, worked and kind of done a lot to work on their mental health over time, and putting in all these things you need to put in to help yourself be more successful in dealing with those issues, it's kind of like having the rug pulled out from under you. So you're really, putting these new building blocks in place, and I think that's been one of the more challenging things. And then especially with my parents, they're not they're in their 50s, mid 50s, and my big thing is just trying to keep in contact with them on the phone, but not seeing them in person like I'm used to every week, which is kind of a nice refresh for me, just to go see them, talk to them, see how they're doing. And I often try to bring something for a meal or whatever, and kind of feel like I'm contributing there. But now it feels like that's been kind of removed. So I think a lot of sort of the weird feelings come from my ability to not act on things. And I think that's the thing that's most frustrating, is you don't have the ability to act or make a good impact or push out positivity into the world that you used to, when you have to sort of push yourself into an isolation space for the good of everybody else.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point about, a lot of us have routines or things that we built to cope or, self-regulate or just have fun activities. Like I play ice hockey, for example, and I haven't been able to do that, or, any kinds of going to exercise at the gym. I think that's important for all of us to realize that, like, when we're stuck at home, we need to find ways, like Ryan mentioned, coming to here and feeling like you're in a group, or I force myself to play Beat Saber on the fast version of songs every day for at least 30 minutes, and do the 7-minute workout on my phone or whatever, which is like, just some push-ups and crunches and stuff. And like, it's not the same, but it's like, I think it's really important, because generally, like, there's already anxiety with what's happening, but then depression, one big thing with depression that happens is that when we stop doing activities, that can be a self-feeding loop into depression, and then depression occurs, and basically it hacks the brain and has this kind of hack into how much people predict they're going to enjoy something is decreased greatly. So if you're kind of laying in, like, basically I think what's going to start to happen is a lot of people who are less active might start laying in bed more, or sleeping in more and doing things. And as they become less and less active, even picking up a headset, like most of us have VR, picking up a headset to go do something active might feel like a big chore all of a sudden. And so I think it's really important for everybody to try to just force themselves to be active in certain ways, standing up, playing some games, moving, and talking to people. And even if you don't think you'll enjoy it, you actually might enjoy it more than you would have predicted once you start doing it. Finance, did you have a quick thought about that?
Yeah, so one thing that I'm aware of is, for mental health purposes, one of the things about sleep hygiene that's important is getting up at a consistent time, plus or minus half an hour or so.
Yeah.
So, like, even if you don't go to bed on time, it's very helpful to still get up at the same time. Like, you're gonna be tired, but that's the price you pay for not sleeping, I guess. But it's a very good grounding influence to have.
So you're saying I
That's
shouldn't
a
get up
really,
at 12
really good
o'clock
point.
in the afternoon? Dang it.
That's what I did today.
I know, same.
It's bad. No, but I agree. That's a really good point. It's really good to set an alarm, get up consistently. Also, take a shower, do whatever, like change into your work clothes if you're working from home or just change. Don't sit around in your pajamas all the time necessarily or things like that. Like change, get up, change yourself because right now we just have our own apartments in our places. That's all we have control over. And so all of a sudden getting into some work clothes really makes a difference in terms that's like that right now getting into work clothes is as close, except for VR, as close as you can get basically to going to work. It's as close as you can simulate. And those things probably will have, I don't know this for sure, but I think those things will have a positive effect on mental health, like showering and getting ready and, acting like you're going to go to work and then sitting in your chair. You'll feel different than if you just get out of bed and go sit in your chair without doing those things. Alba, did you have a quick comment before we get to Psycho or?
Oh no, I just agree with all of that. That's all great advice and stuff that I've been struggling to put into practice myself. The shower thing, that I totally do, and the getting dressed properly, because it's very tempting to just, oh, this is just a long weekend. This is fine.
Yeah.
It goes bad quick.
That's so true.
So.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Psycho.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on. It's been pretty crazy. Where do I even begin? Like, let's see here. For me personally, like my family is it's been a little bit slow in terms of like how like everybody sort of coming back home and just self-isolating and whatnot. But like for the most part, like we're pretty much closed off from the rest of the world, so that's a good thing. Like let's see here. It brings up a lot of questions in terms of like what are we going to be doing long term? Like going to work or having money to pay bills and for me, like going to school. I was on spring break, and my spring break actually it was a very good time because like it was just like my spring break turned into like 2 weeks, and then now it's like for the rest of the semester I'm taking online courses, so
yeah,
and that's gonna be kind of weird. Other things, yeah, just like how long this is gonna take in terms of like how we're gonna be able to deal with just groceries and bills and things like that. I hear that the U.S. government is working on this thing called a coronavirus response bill, where I'm not entirely sure, but like they want to give families like $1,000 each just to get by, just because of how long this might take. So I mean our situation for the most part is okay, but yeah, it raises a lot of questions in terms of like what does the future hold, what does next week look like, and then I have another thing to add. I actually have a friend. He's a he's a VRchat user, and he's from Canada. I don't want to get too much detail, but yeah, he was diagnosed with coronavirus. He contracted it from his sister, and like his sister has a little daughter, which her daughter probably got it from a I'm not entirely if it was from like school or something, but yeah, that's a thing that happened, and they're saying that the person who got it originally went on vacation to like Egypt or something. So but yeah, they're dealing with that. They're self-isolating and whatnot. So my friend has been he's been in good spirits so far. Like he wasn't really too I mean, not too stressed about it. Like he's pretty young, in his late 20s or so. But like, let's see here. But yeah, like his dad is definitely like kind of emotional over it, and it kind of surprised him about it. So far, he's been dealing with some of the symptoms of it, such as like coughing, fever, chest compression, headache, etc. But it's been a pretty like he's powering through it.
Good.
It
Yeah.
definitely sucks, but like, and there's not really like any way that we can treat it other than just to allow our immune systems to deal with it. But
Yeah, I think that's a key thing is that 50 to 70%, I think they predict, of the population is going to get this. And I think one key thing to think about, like, is when we have like a feared outcome that might occur, there's like this thing that you can do, which is like, what's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? And what's the most likely scenario? I think that's a really helpful thing for all of us because it's like, it's scary to hear when a friend gets coronavirus or, things like that. But it's like, the worst case, yeah, there could be really, you could be hospitalized or have like, potentially have mortality. The best case scenario is that if you get it, in the case that you get it, it's like you're completely asymptomatic and you're fine. I think the most likely scenario is that you're going to be okay. That is the most likely scenario for most people. But I think reminding ourselves of that when we have like friends get it or things like that, that it's pretty scary. But that, you'll cope with it. It'll probably be a bad cold kind of thing, but you'll be okay. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And Deadly, I saw you had an explanation point.
Yeah.
Did you have a quick?
Statistically seen, about 95% of the infected only have symptoms up to a bad cold. Only about 5% are actually so bad that they need to get into a hospital. So, statistically seen, only 1 out of 20 infected actually has symptoms that are bad enough to be hospitalized. In addition to that, maybe a few more numbers. The current risk group for hospitalization is the group from the age of 38 upwards. So everyone below that is statistically highly unlikely to get bad symptoms. Just a few numbers.
Yeah. And even if you are above that age, like I think the key thing is that, most people are not dying from this who are hospitalized, so it's like, yeah, I think it's important to remember. And we are getting towards an hour. We try to keep these Endgame always to an hour to respect everybody's time and kind of let people know that that's kind of how we do things. But anyone, so we have in the last, Ghoster, did you have
A4, he sent me the message, so.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, do you want to read? Perfect. Yeah.
Yep, let me just bring that up.
Is A4 still here?
No, I don't know where they went.
Okay.
So basically, their house has been overstocked with food ever since the pandemic was announced. When their mom and them went to Costco, they were basically saying it was a complete traffic jam. People were, taking stuff off the shelf left and right. And even the employees were literally bringing stuff out on carts, and the customers were taking them, not even off the shelf, like straight up off the cart, because that's how bad they wanted it. Basically, A4 and their mom got a ton of stuff. They live in LA. They've got a bunch of canned food in their garage with some non-perishable items. Actually, every day their family would play Jenga during dinner, not to get bored, which I thought was, one of those interesting ones. There's better games, like Risk and Uno and Monopoly to ruin your family relationship, right? Come on now.
No, Catan. Catan is what ruins family relationships.
Oh, that's the one?
Settlers of Catan.
And one thing I want to actually talk about a little bit also is their dad still goes to work since, he is a mini boss of real estate, is what he said. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow. Well, yeah. A lot of different situations, a lot of stressful things. I think.
Exactly.
I think that. Yeah. I think so. To wrap up, does anyone want to share anything briefly that has helped them a lot? Does anyone have any suggestions or things to share that has helped them a lot through this, or that they think will, or anything like that?
Yeah.
For me, social VR. Yeah. And then Ghoster.
I struggled a lot this week. I'm I think part of the risk group, though I'm quite young, so I'm also not worrying too much. But what helped me today a lot was going for a walk in the countryside. I've been fortunate enough to move back into the countryside where I feel very safe. Because there's really, it's a very small village and I can kind of take a public footpath into a really big field. And I did today, and I just went and did a few laps around the field, and I could see, there were some people on the field as well, but they were really far away, and just seeing them wave and just seeing them kind of smile back at me and just have that connection, but, safely and very comfortably, was really nice. And I recommend if anyone can get into nature, obviously that most people are in very urban environments, so that can be very hard, but if you can, I imagine that's quite a safe environment to be in, and I think it really clears the head if you've been in your apartment for a long time. Just helped me a lot.
Great, thanks for sharing that. I think that's a great idea. People can do that, and you can still see people, but just far away and wave. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
Ghoster.
I would say obviously, having a good group of friends, even if you can't talk to them, face to face, even being able to, chat with them, send messages, even meet in VRs, like really helped me a lot. I mean, not that I get out much, and the fact that I'm still going to work and we're actually getting busier because, working in industry, everyone's trying to stockpile and stuff, and it's like rush job after rush job after rush job. Just the panic will get to you mentally before, anything else really will.
Yeah.
So having, being able to meet up in VR, hang out with friends, maybe have a few substances that we are not going to mention because that's illegal. Alcohol, that fun stuff.
Yeah.
It really helps, people relax.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a concern for me, is that I treat substance use disorder for people and people in recovery. I think it's going to be, so some people are going to say, oh, substances are going to help, and that's true. It might help some people, but then also it could be really bad for others. So it's interesting that, it's just that's a concern that I have. But social connection, I think, is really good. And also, one other thing to mention is I've been using Zoom with my family. I think that they've updated their app so that it's free. A lot of the features are free. Like if you just want to create an account and use it with your family, it's like group video chat. And I think that's also really helpful. Like it feels like, oh, we're texting all this stuff, I'm calling them. But there's something about seeing your family on the videos chat or being able to talk to them that I think can be helpful. Not everybody can do that, but just as a mention to like sometimes intentionally increase those things can be helpful. And one other question for you guys is that we could do this. So Eve and I will figure out the technical difficulties, so she'll be here hopefully next time. But are people interested? So, things are changing quite a bit. Like even a week ago, things seem pretty different. So are people interested in like doing this on Saturdays generally, if people could make it? Or are they, I guess, like thumbs up or thumbs down if people are interested in coming back? All right, cool. Awesome. Yeah, so I think we might try to make this a weekly thing, and even if you can only come for a little bit and just check in and update. I hope that this was helpful for people. I know we don't have solutions necessarily to these things, but this has been helpful for me, just hearing everybody else and like, we're experiencing this, but really I don't have a forum to talk to my friends too much about this. I think people are sharing news. There's a lot of news articles and like, a lot of bad news, but I think being able to come together and be like, we're from all over the world, but we're not alone. We're all experiencing this together, and I think that we can help each other, get through this and everything. So, yeah. But I think we're gonna wrap up. So we need to take a group picture. That's always really important at the end of our Endgame episode. So let me turn off the stage security real fast and play the outro music. Okay, outro, and then stage security is off. All right, so everybody can come up on the stage. So everybody come up here, and we'll take a group picture. And next time we will use our world where we can have the sign behind us as well. So that'll be cool. Here, everyone come up close to the front of the stage. Awesome. What should we say on 3? Maybe we'll say social connection. Social connection. I don't know. Social distance. Yeah. Okay. Social distance. Social distancing on 3. All right. Okay. Social distance. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Maybe next time we can do elbow bumps. We can do elbow bumps. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Thanks, Noah.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Hopefully see you
Thanks.
next
Good to
week.
hear from
all of you. Yeah.
Will it be the same time next week? Do you think?
I think so. Yeah. So that European
that'd be
friends
amazing.
and Asian friends can join.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
We don't care about Canadians though. There's only the United States. So. What the heck? I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.